I got the email at 6:47 a.m. Subject line, compensation realignment notice. No call, no meeting, just that flat corporate tone I knew too well. The same garbage we use to push out underperformers. Only this time, it had my name on it. 15 minutes later, I was in the break room on the 10th floor, holding a paper cup of lukewarm coffee while someone arranged champagne glasses under a stupid vinyl banner. $2.9 billion, a Hallcore milestone. It was one of those early morning mandatory celebrations that execs think make them relatable. They were handing out branded cupcakes like we just cured cancer. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? Trevor, our CEO, walked in flanked by two VPs, slapping backs and throwing out that practiced team win nonsense. Ryan, his golden boy son, was standing by the table in a new Navy suit, like he hadn't just graduated undergrad 2 years ago. He was announced as our new VP of Ops last week. No one even pretended to be surprised. Trevor made a speech, said we'd transformed the way mid-tier logistics operate globally, and built an engine for growth. People clapped like seals. I just stood near the fridge, watching foam die in my coffee. After the toast, Trevor made his way over. He smiled that fake, overly pleasant smile I'd seen him use in the pitch meetings. The one that meant he was lying. "Couldn't have pulled this off without you, Marcus," he said, resting a hand on my shoulder like we were buddies. I didn't fake a smile back. "Got your email." He didn't flinch. "Leadership restructuring. Everyone's adjusting." "Yeah?" I asked. "Even your kid?" Trevor's smile never moved. "We're aligning incentives where they matter most." That told me everything. 2 hours later, while I was pretending to work in my office, someone let it slip that Ryan had just gotten a 25% bump. Word traveled fast when people gossiped louder than they worked. I sat back in my chair, staring at that damn email. They didn't cut my title, didn't cut me loose, just my salary, quietly, no warning. Just buried it under a celebration like no one would notice. Like I didn't matter anymore. I closed the message window and stood up. My hands were shaking, but not from nerves, just rage, steady and cold. I walked straight to the window, looked down at the parking lot 10 stories below, then turned back and slammed my coffee into the trash. Someone near the door asked if I was okay. I didn't answer. I went back to my desk, opened my inbox, and started reading every line of that cut notice. 3 years ago, Halcor was circling the drain. Clients were bailing, the back end was duct tape and prayer, and we were 2 failed audits from getting torched by regulators. I was brought in under a 6-month contract to patch the bleeding. No bonus, no title, just fix it, and I did. I rebuilt the automation architecture from scratch, scrapped the brittle ancient code running the pipelines, streamlined licensing and cut dead-weight middleware that nobody even knew was still running. Then, I closed Siemens, a contract we still slapped on every slide deck. Without it, we would have folded by Q4. All I ever asked for was space. No fancy title, no stock, just room to work. And I built the damn core. I was the engine. I pulled up the Q2 initiative deck, the one I'd reviewed last week before everything flipped. Scrolled to slide 14. The architecture model used to say, proposed by Marcus Bell. Now it read, led by strategy team. No names, no credits, just the language of erasure. I sat there staring at it while voices floated in from the hallway. Laughter. Loud, relaxed. I leaned back slightly to see out the glass. Maddie. She was standing with 2 junior PMs, holding a La Colombe can and laughing like she'd just nailed her first real joke. I watched her lean in, all that fake humility she'd picked up in meetings with me. It used to be just her and me in that tiny side conference room, sketching workflows on glass walls, while I explained how process trees didn't care about your degree. They only cared if they worked. She was an intern back then. Stanford, yeah, but green. Bright, fast, curious. I liked her. Hell, I mentored her, taught her everything I could fit into 6 months. I'd even fought for her to stay on full time. She never would have cleared the politics otherwise. Now she was one of them, laughing, sipping cold brew, standing with the same execs who used to hang outside my door waiting for my sign-off. I didn't say a word, didn't forward the email, didn't reply to legal, didn't text my wife. I just closed everything, minimized my calendar, deleted 2 standing meetings I wasn't invited to anymore anyway. Then I opened the system logs, buried 6 layers down, just to remind myself that the framework still pulsed the way I designed it to. I didn't care about vanity, but I cared about truth, and right then the truth was this. They wanted me erased without the mess of actually firing me, so they made me invisible. I stood up, walked out of my office, and didn't say a damn word as I passed by Maddie and her new team. They didn't even look up. That night, just past 11, the HR invite dropped into my inbox like a bad joke. Subject line, internal discussion, 8:45 a.m. No topic, no agenda. Just a calendar block and a soft request to confirm attendance. I didn't sleep much. Next morning, I put on the same gray suit I'd worn 2 weeks earlier when I presented the company-wide growth model, the one with the 5-year roadmap, predictive scaling, and global node balancing, half of which they were already implementing without credit. I tied the same dark blue tie, polished my shoes, and walked in like I still belonged. The HR conference room smelled like stale citrus air freshener. 2 reps were already seated, Kelsey from People Ops, and a guy I'd never seen before wearing a smile too wide for 8:45 a.m. "Thanks for coming in, Marcus," Kelsey started. "We just want to have a quick chat about your role and how we're evolving team dynamics." I didn't sit. "Say what you mean." The guy cleared his throat. "We're in a transitional phase. We're working to amplify new voices, bring in fresh leadership styles, and—" I cut him off. "You're bumping me down." "No," Kelsey said quickly. "This isn't a demotion. It's a repositioning towards support. You'll still be critical to back-end stability, but less in a forward-facing capacity." I looked at her like she'd grown a second head. "So I'm invisible and silent now." She tried to smile. "There's also an opportunity for mentorship. We see value in you guiding the next generation of systems leaders." "Like Maddie," I said. The guy shifted in his seat. "This was a leadership consensus decision, Marcus. It wasn't personal." Bullshit. That phrase always meant exactly the opposite. I stared at both of them, didn't nod, didn't speak, just left the room without another word. By lunch, the building felt like it was leaning sideways. I skipped my calendar blocks and walked the long loop around the executive wing. Don't ask me why. Maybe I just needed to see it for myself. Through the glass wall of the executive conference room, I saw them. Trevor at the head, Ryan flanking his right. And beside Ryan, in my old seat, the one closest to the whiteboard, the seat I'd picked on purpose years ago to anchor strategy talks, sat Maddie, hair pinned up, notebooks open, nodding like a seasoned operator. She didn't see me, or maybe she did. Either way, she didn't look. I stood there long enough to catch Trevor smiling at something she said. Same smile he used on investors. Then she turned and clicked the remote, running a slide deck I'd probably built. My feet felt heavy as hell walking away from that room. I parked in my driveway just after 6. Didn't even close the garage door behind me. My wife wasn't home. She had a late shift, and the house was quiet, too quiet. I stood in the hallway for a second, keys still in my hand, then went straight to the office and unlocked the bottom drawer of my old file cabinet. I hadn't touched that drawer in over a year. Inside was a thick red folder labeled V-Core, Master Agreement. I dropped it on the desk, flipped it open, and turned straight to clause 9.2. I already knew what it said, but I had to read it again. License valid for 18 months from date of execution, renewable by written extension, submitted no fewer than 30 days prior to expiration. I checked the start date. Then I checked the calendar on my monitor. 18 days left. I leaned back in my chair, staring at that number like it might change. I didn't blink. My mouth went dry. Then I dug into my email. Search, V-Core renewal. 1 hit from Trevor. 7 weeks ago. Subject line, need you to sign this eventually. Low priority. The doc was attached. No urgency, no CC to legal, no routing through contracts, no tracker, just assumption. The kind rich men make when they think the hands building their empire don't matter anymore. I clicked into the attachment. Blank signature line. The date field hadn't even been updated. It was like someone tossed it on my desk, hoping I'd be dumb enough to finish their work without noticing the clock. I didn't reply. I didn't forward it. Instead, I pulled up my dev shell, my private one, still tied to a root-level token they'd never revoked. Idiots. V-Core was designed around modular sync nodes, fail-safe, redundant, and fast as hell. But it also had one bottleneck by design, deep inside the core pipeline. where outbound data passed through a timestamp queue. It was an old protection measure I'd added early on, a way to trace packet loss across client systems. No one else understood what it really did. I opened the queue handler and dropped in one line. Just a redirect, nothing malicious. Nothing detectable unless you knew exactly what to look for. Every third sync would delay itself by 17 seconds. Not crash, not hang, just breathe slower. The next packet would wait. Then the next. Then the next. Not a virus, not sabotage, no alarms, just drag. You starve a system by starving its time. I saved the line, rebuilt the handler, pushed it to the test branch they thought was deprecated. The East Coast clusters would catch it during overnight loads. That was the beauty of it. Half their infra still depended on the legacy node scheduler I built when Halcor couldn't afford proper automation. They wanted me gone. Fine. Let's see how the engine runs without its timing belt. I didn't smile. I didn't rage. I just closed the shell, powered down the monitor, and slid the vCore contract back into the drawer. There was nothing left to talk about. 4 days in, the first ping hit my inbox. Subject, lag spikes. It was Evan, one of the mid-tier engineers I'd always liked. Smart guy, quiet, solid work ethic. Never pretended to know more than he did. His message was short, direct, just like mine used to be. Weird lag spikes, some logs looping back on themselves. Any idea what's going on? I read it twice, then I closed it. I wasn't his teammate anymore. That was the first crack. By the next morning, I was already monitoring the admin shell I still had access to. The one buried in the audit layer nobody ever touched unless a node caught fire. My credentials hadn't been revoked. No one had flagged the session. No trace in the SSO logs. Amateurs. The lag was crawling across the East Coast clusters exactly how I designed it. 17 seconds at a time. Nothing hard enough to trip alerts, just enough to break rhythm. Reports wouldn't compile clean. Dashboards would spin. Job schedulers would skip or double trigger. To a junior dev, it'd look like a networking glitch. To an exec, it'd look like engineering was slipping. To me, it looked like proof. They forgot the system had a pulse, and that I was the one who taught it how to breathe. On the 5th day, I watched a routine quarterly audit hit a timeout loop. Internal dashboards that used to refresh in under 5 seconds were now choking for nearly a full minute. Only the legacy clusters, only the ones built on the skeleton I'd left behind. Evan sent a second email that afternoon. Hey, getting escalations from ops, sync delays on legacy nodes. You seeing any system-level weirdness from your side? I didn't answer that one either. The new kids would try to fix it, maybe patch around it, but they wouldn't know where to look. Not unless they had time. And time was exactly what the system was losing. I tracked every slowdown from my apartment, pulled logs, flagged timestamps, mapped the lag trails like arteries in a dying body. I watched as the cluster heat maps turned yellow, then amber, never red, not yet. That was key. Don't crash the system. Just let it forget how to function. Late that night, I sat on my balcony with a drink in my hand and my laptop glowing against my legs. Across the street, someone was barbecuing. Somewhere else, a siren echoed past. But my world stayed tight. Me, the terminal, the heartbeat of a company that still ran on code they no longer respected. No one from Halcor followed up. No one checked in. Not legal, not Ryan, not Trevor. They'd already boxed me out, but the system hadn't. Every delayed sync was a message they didn't know how to read. I didn't speak. I didn't send a single line of communication. Just watch the lag crawl deeper into their infrastructure, slow, silent, inevitable. Like driftwood pulling away from shore. The message came in through an old encrypted channel I hadn't touched in over 4 years. Same cipher key, same signature ID, Danny Loris. Only one person ever used that key, and only when she wanted something that couldn't afford witnesses. I clicked it open. Need to talk, 9 p.m., bring a clean device, rooftop bar at the Callahan. No small talk, no context. That was Danny. The last time we'd spoken, I turned down a CTO offer at Kestrel Systems to help Halcor fix its mess. She'd said I was making a mistake. Turns out, she was right. So I showed up. Rooftop was quiet. End of summer, warm wind, buzz of patio heaters on low. Danny was already there at the far end, facing the skyline, dark blazer over a black t-shirt like always. She was sipping bourbon like it was medicine. I walked up, sat across from her, dropped my phone on the table. Still hate elevators, I said. She smirked. Still hate small talk. She slid a tablet across the table. Take a look. Back-end logs, memory leaks, system strain. I recognized the decay immediately. Same pattern Halcor showed a year before I got there. Only worse. She said, our load doubled in a year. The architecture didn't. I swiped through more logs. You're still running on Athena script? Unfortunately, I looked up. You knew this was coming. She shrugged. I knew something was coming. I didn't expect you to ghost out of Halcor like that. Subtle. I didn't answer. She leaned in, tone shifting. You built something real, Marcus. V-Core scaled. Efficient, modular, elegant. Then they let it rot. I waited. Danny tapped the tablet once, locking it. Here's the offer. 2 options. 1 license V-Core to Kestrel exclusively. I'll pay you 7 figures. Full back-end rights. We adapt it to our stack. And 2, I asked. You run it yourself. We launch a new brand. Your brand. I fund it. You build it. Your name on every line of code. I looked out over the skyline. The city buzzed beneath us, distant and low. Cars like ants, glass towers glowing fake gold under LED signs. How quiet has it been, Marcus? She asked. I didn't answer right away. I didn't have to. The silence had gotten loud lately. She sat back. You built something no one else could have. They didn't just steal it, they buried it. I stared at my soda. Ice half melted, no fizz left. I'll need 2 days, I said. You've got 36 hours, she replied. You're not the only ghost I've called. I smiled a little. Still cutthroat. She stood up, tossed cash on the table. Still smarter than most. Don't waste this one, Marcus. Then she walked away, heels sharp against concrete, wind catching the hem of her jacket. I stayed at the table, tablet still warm under my hand. The offer didn't scare me. What scared me was how ready I felt. Next morning, I was in Halcor's parking garage by 6:42 a.m. Gray light, humid air, still quiet. I scanned my badge at the basement entrance, still green. I didn't take the elevator up. I went down, sub-level 1, storage and fail-safes. The part of the building no one talked about, but everyone depended on. The hallway smelled like dust and cold metal. I passed 2 locked doors, turned left, and stopped at the vault. I pressed my palm against the scanner. Still worked. Inside, the lights flicked on automatically. Concrete walls, steel racks, no windows, no cameras, just rows of fireproof containers and backup drives that could outlive us all. I walked straight to the 3rd row, 6th unit from the end, flipped the latch, swung the door open. Everything was right where I left it. 1 encrypted USB drive, labeled with nothing but a red dot. 1 blueprint, printed, annotated by hand, folded in thirds like I always kept it, and 1 sheet of paper. I pulled the cap off a Sharpie and wrote the final note. To whoever replaces me, line 342 in the core node was mine. The rest was borrowed. No drama, no explanation, just truth. I folded it, tucked it inside the blueprint sleeve, slid everything back in, and shut the container. That was it. No backups, no copies, just legacy. As I stepped out of the vault, I heard footsteps coming down the hall. Evan. He looked surprised but not alarmed. Marcus, you all right? Just clearing out, I said. He looked like he wanted to ask more, but I didn't slow down. I climbed the stairs back to the main lobby. Early staff were trickling in, mostly HR and sales types. No one looked twice. Then I saw her, Maddie, standing by the espresso machine, reusable cup in one hand, phone in the other. She looked up as I passed. Are you leaving? I stopped, met her eyes. You never had me. She blinked, like she didn't understand. Then I walked out, through the glass doors, into the morning heat, past the Halcor logo mounted above the revolving doors like it still meant something. Keys in hand, steps steady, no second thoughts, just exit. I was 3 sips into a black coffee when the first red ping hit. 8:11 a.m. downtown cafe, corner table, no noise but steam hissing from the espresso machine and some guy pacing outside on Bluetooth. My laptop sat open in front of me, muted, brightness turned low. No apps, just the shell. Halcor's ops dashboard lit up like a power grid during a blackout. Sync delays sweeping east to west. First, minor, then cascading. At 8:19, finance lost access to the forecasting models. 2 alerts flared red, then went dark. No reroute, no patch. I stirred my coffee. By 8:36, the help desk had over 50 active tickets. Client-side metrics were vanishing mid-transmission. The load balancer tried to reroute to Midwest clusters, but the legacy nodes couldn't handle the spike. At 9:08, the portals failed. First one, then 3 more. Internal alerts were pinging every 12 seconds. Someone in the control room must have finally hit panic. At 9:13, a VP, Logan probably, sent an all-company blast. "Is this a cyber attack?" Someone answer now? I didn't. I just watched. At 9:27 a.m., the East Coast nodes flatlined. Not crashed, not burned, just silent. Every endpoint timed out in perfect rhythm. No warnings, no error codes, no breadcrumbs to follow. They weren't built to handle absence. Support queues hit triple digits by 9:31. Finance, sales, client success, legal, all blindsided. Then came the message. "Evan, this feels controlled, like someone's unplugging the system piece by piece. You seeing this?" I stared at the screen for a second, then closed the message without typing a word. It wasn't personal. He was a good guy. But this wasn't about him. I sipped my coffee, burnt and bitter, just the way I liked it. Every red ping on my screen was a line of mine letting go. Every delay was a slow exhale. They thought I'd been erased, but I hadn't. I'd been removed by them with smiles and calendar invites and fake promotions. They scraped my name off the surface and assumed the engine would run the same. Idiots. They thought systems worked because they were designed right, but they don't. Systems work because someone's still thinking about them after midnight. Someone's still watching when everyone else clocks out. That someone used to be me, and now I was gone. I leaned back in my chair as the sync map on my screen flickered and stuttered. Red blocks pushed westward. Node pressure climbed. Someone inside Halcor would be scrambling to find the source, trying to reverse a decay they never understood to begin with. And all I did was nothing. No hacks, no sabotage, just time running out. I closed my laptop at 11:58 a.m., walked out of the cafe, and didn't look back. By 1:15, I was stepping through the glass doors at Kestrel HQ. Cleaner floors, sharper lighting, none of the fake marble Halcor loved so much. Danny met me near the elevator with a nod and a program folder. "Mike's hot at 2 o'clock, she said. "Say what you need to say." I followed her up to the rooftop conference space. Cameras were already rolling, lights positioned, chairs filled, media badges, investor tags, press kits. Danny took center stage without a script. She didn't need one. She gripped the mic like it owed her money. "We're here because it's time to build something real," she started. "Something that works." A few nods from the crowd. "And this time," she said, pausing just long enough to let the silence sharpen, "we're building it with the man who scaled Halcor's core architecture, carried it through crisis, then was pushed aside when the ink dried." She turned, motioned. I stepped onto the stage. No fireworks, no music, just footsteps. I took the mic from her, held it steady. "My name is Marcus Bell." A few heads tilted, cameras clicked. "I built the system Halcor runs on. Every automation flow, every license rewrite, every sync path. They were mine. They worked because I worked, not a team, not a committee. Me." I paused, looked straight down the lens of the main camera. And when they didn't need me anymore, they erased my name. Quietly. Cleanly. My voice didn't shake. "I'm not here for revenge. I'm not here to tear anything down. I'm here to build again, but this time, I keep the pen." Across town, Halcor's war room fell dead silent. Trevor sat pale-faced at the end of the table, jaw set but motionless. Ryan was slouched forward, phone in one hand, lip half-bitten. "We're screwed," he muttered. Someone in sales asked, "Do we have a legal leg to stand on?" No one answered. A junior manager, new girl from ops, whispered, "He built it all." And we treated him like an extra. The live feed ended 10 minutes later, but the headlines were already out. Unknown architect of Halcor's engine reemerges at rival launch. Kestrel unveils new infrastructure platform powered by Halcor's former lead dev. The system whisperer they forgot. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Then again. I didn't check it. Danny came up beside me, nodding. Hell of a thing to watch, she said. I didn't smile. It wasn't a show, I said. It was the truth. She handed me a cold bottle of water, still unopened. Keep saying it then. I looked down at the label, peeled the corner back with my thumb. Because now, people were finally listening. I walked into my new office at Kestrel Core just after 8 a.m. Top floor, clean glass, no nameplate yet. Still smelled like new paint and fresh carpet glue. But on the shelf behind my desk, dead center, sat the old brushed steel plaque they'd pulled from Halcor. Marcus Bell, Director of System Strategy. Same font. Same weight. Whole new meaning. I stood for a second, just looking at it. Then Danny walked in, holding a folder and 2 coffees. Paperwork cleared this morning, she said, setting it on the desk. IPO's going live next quarter. She took a breath. Also, Halcor's under formal SEC review. Some licensing irregularities. Someone's digging. I raised an eyebrow but didn't comment. She smirked. Trevor's cooked. Still, I said nothing. I didn't need to. She slid the second coffee toward me and leaned against the edge of the desk. You ready to attach your name to the engine this time? I opened the folder and skimmed the first page. Docs were tight, clean, no buried clauses. Everything exactly where it should have been from the start. Yeah, I said. Then I looked out the window. The skyline didn't feel smaller anymore, or sharper, or threatening. Just mine. She watched me for a beat. It's going to get loud once this rolls out. Let it. I walked over to the whiteboard and picked up a marker. First build starts next week, I said. But this time, the blueprints got my initials etched in the header. She nodded once, grabbed her coffee, and left without another word. I sat down, kicked off my shoes, and stared at the blank screen in front of me. No noise, no alerts. No one asking for access or sign-off. For the first time in years, the system was mine from day one.